Oh boy, where do we even begin with this thing? So, back in February, I ended up having to go in for a minor foot surgery to have some toenails removed because they were ingrown. Just recently, though, I had to go back in for a follow up surgery because one of two things happened. Either there was a part of the nail still left in that toe that started to get inflamed again, or I'm actually part lizard and have the ability to regenerate things that are lost. Now, how is that relevant to Hisuian Avalugg? Well, Hisuian Avalugg 2 has the ability to repair itself in the form of recover. Under normal circumstances, having recover would be a great tool for any Pokemon to have in their move pool since they can get back half of their HP. But with Avalugg's stats, as well as Hisuian Avalugg's stats being so far all over the place, it's a little bit questionable because Hisuian Avalugg is basically the defensive equivalent of someone skipping leg day at the gym. We have a great physical presence with its 95 HP, 127 attack, and 184 defense, with 184 being one of the highest defensive totals for any Pokemon in the game. But if you look at the special side, well, you got 34 special attack, you got 36 special defense, and you got 38 speed. I take it back. It's not the equivalent of skipping leg day at the gym. This is the equivalent of skipping too many classes and then expecting to pass the final exam based off of raw talent. You're going to suffer if you get hit with a special attack. On top of that, you're also part rock and ice, meaning you got resistances to normal, poison, ice, and flying, and while it's nice to resist ice and flying since they're fairly common, it goes real downhill real quick because you're weak to grass, ground, water, and rock. And then you have two 4 times weaknesses to fighting and steel. And while fighting and steel do have a lot of physical coverage in their damaging moves, they do have special attacks as well. Like steel has flash cannon and make it rain. Like Golden Go doesn't even need a fire make it rain. It just needs to think it, and Avalugg's just gonna crumble. On top of that, there's Aura Sphere, Focus Miss, stuff like that that'll just make Avalugg just absolutely melt. Before I go any further with this, I do want to be completely transparent. I don't think Hisuian Avalugg is a good Pokemon by any means. The stats aren't there. Its abilities we're going to touch on in a moment, but it needs heavy support if it's going to do anything. As far as your typing goes, you're probably going to want to go and terrestrialize to get rid of ice rock. Keeping ice might be fine on a snow team. Keeping rock might be questionable. Actually, it is questionable if you want to do it on a sand team, but you could possibly make a case for Terra Ice on Snow. You could make a case for Terra Dark. You could make a case for Terra Fairy for just defensive benefits as well. So let's get into our abilities. We have Strong Jaw, which is a biting based ability which increases biting moves by 50%. Avalugg gets Ice Fang, which naturally benefits from stab. It's a 65 base power move. When you get the 50% from Strong Jaw, you're going up to 97, which is relatively nice. You get Crunch, which is a base 80 dark type move, which would then go up to 120 from the 50% boost. If you went Terra Dark, you would get Stab from there as well. And that's it. That's it. Hisuian Avalugg unfortunately does not get any other biting moves, to my understanding. It doesn't get Thunderfang, which would have been nice for dealing with water types. And this is the second rock type, to my understanding. Well, technically third because of Tyrant and Tyrantrum. But you would think between Hisuian Avalugg and Tyrantrum, they would have given us a bite-based rock type move by now. But no, it just hasn't happened yet. You at least have Strong Jaw to take advantage of the fact that you do have a base 127 attack, which is relatively nice. And then we have Ice Body, which will give Avalugg a little bit of HP back while Snow is active on the field. And then we have Sturdy, which will keep us alive with 1 HP if we would have otherwise been KO'd from full. It also protects us from Fissure, Guillotine, and other one-hit KOing moves like Sheer Cold. So that is a thing that is nice. So yeah, let's take a look into some of the moves. We have a signature move in the form of Mountain Gale, which is a base 100 physical ice type attack that does not make contact, which that is relatively nice because there are abilities out there that activate when the user is hit by a contact move. So Mountain Gale does get us around that, but the 85 accuracy is relatively risky for a base 100 move. Now, if this thing was like Blizzard and became an automatic hitting move while snow was on the field, I could understand that for the justification. If it also gave us the potential to freeze the target, I could understand that. But its base effect is 30% chance to make the target flinch. You had 38 speed. What are you outspeeding with? Hisuian Avalugg. Torkoal? Uh, Unfortunately, too, this thing does require Trick Room to be able to outspeed anything, and it's time to reveal the cruel joke. Regular Avalugg is 28 speed. Hisuian Avalugg's 38 speed. They took 10 points from special defense and put it in speed. What were they cooking? I don't know. But yeah, that's the thing. They took speed away from regular Avalugg to get, or they took special defense away from regular Avalugg to put 38 speed on Hisuian Avalugg. That actually flips the Trick Room dynamic between Avalugg and Amoonguss, where regular Avalugg would be able to outspeed Amoonguss under Trick Room and go for a big ice type attack and hit Amoonguss for major damage. Now Amoonguss can get you with a spore before you can even blink, which is unfortunate. So, going back into the moves, we do have Mountain Gale, which it is relatively cool. If you didn't want to play with Strongjaw, I could see Mountain Gale working. With Stab, you would go up to 150 right there, but you don't benefit from Strongjaw, so really, unless you want to run Ice Body or Sturdy, you're probably going to want to use Ice Fang instead, because Ice Fang, it's relatively comparable to Mountain Gale. With the Strongjaw boost, you're only 3 points lower than Mountain Gale's base 100, and then you have Stab. So it's relatively comparable. If you go Terra Ice, both Ice Fang with the Strongjaw boost versus Mountain Gale without the Strongjaw boost, they're relatively still the same base power, but Ice Fang is a little bit more accurate. As I mentioned, you do have Recover to increase your HP. Now, Rock Blast is an interesting Rock-type move to have on Avalugg if you wanted to go for Rock-type Stab, because if you wanted to go with a loaded dice on Rock Blast, you could have a more reliable Stone Edge, because loaded dice gives you a minimum of 4 hits. With the Rock Blast right there, that hits base 100. Stone Edge is base 80 accuracy right there, so you're hitting Stab off of your 4 hits of 25 base power. You're potentially breaking a focus sash. On top of that, you're a little bit more accurate than Stone Edge, so that's the main thing. Wide Guard is a relatively notable move to have on Hisuian Avalugg 2, or rather for Hisuian Avalugg to have access to, because it can stop spread moves in doubles, it can stop Make It Rain, it can stop Surf, it can stop Origin Pulse or Precipice Blades or Water Spout once the restricted format starts and we start seeing Groudon and Kyogre. You can stop that, which is nice tech to have, but I digress. Let's talk about some actual movesets that I was thinking about maybe for Hisuian Avalugg. You could go with a Curse or Iron Defense set, because what I was thinking here is we invest heavily into our special defense stat to try to make sure that we don't get KO'd, and then we go Strongjaw to boost up our Ice Fang naturally. If we run Curse, we're gaining both an attack and defense boost at the cost of speed. Perfectly fine, because if we set up Trick Room, we can now underspeed things with that speed drop, and we can now gain some physical boosts to our attack and defense. We don't have to worry so much about our special defense, because we'll have a lot of investment into our special defense and all of our investment into our HP right there. Curse will further increase our damage output right there. And then we go for Ice Fang and Body Breast, which I have Ice Fang twice, but that was supposed to be Protect, because, that's the best way of surviving a turn where you try to set your Trick Room. Now, if you're playing with this and you go for Trick Room and say your Trick Room doesn't go up, get Avalugg out and then try to set Trick Room up some other way. That's the main thing, is your super low speed is not going to help you outside of Trick Room at all. And if you had more special defense, you might be able to make the case for it for something like, say, Ursaluna, which does have more special defense. Ursaluna and Iron Hands, they would be able to survive outside of Trick Room, where Avalugg is heavily reliant on it. Now, Like I said, you could run Iron Defense instead of Curse if you wanted to increase your defense further, and then that way you can benefit more from your body press faster. And the main reason why I still have regular Avalugg on here was I went on the Picolytics. I took the 4 most common moves that were showing, and then the first EV spread that I put out there, and it is relatively comparable stat-wise to what I put in for Hisuian Avalugg, because with 212 you hit 93. I put in 236 to hit 94. On top of that, the 52 defense right there hits 232, so you do lose out on some defense on the set that I put on there, but the HP right there is relatively close to what I did, so you could probably take this spread, maybe just adjust your special defense and your defense breakdown and natures to get something relatively comparable if you wanted to use this thing, and then you could still go for body press with either Iron Defense or Curse. Both Avalugg and Hisuian Avalugg do get Ice Spinner as well, so you could also destroy terrain, which could be a relatively useful tech as well. You could justify going for Avalanche as well because it does double in base power if you take some damage, which if you're playing against a physical team, that could work out relatively good. And then what I was thinking was, if you wanted to support this thing and you wanted to commit fully to it, like use your Terra on Hisuian Avalugg, you could do a couple of different things. Carbink is actually coming back through home as well. So what you could do is you could play around with it and maybe go guard split. Now, this is really risky and really hypothetical, but what you could do is you can go for guard split onto your own Avalugg, and while Avalugg would lose a little bit of its own defense, it would gain a significant portion of special defense, meaning you might be able to help it survive more hits, especially if you get rid of that ice rock typing. Because what guard split does is it takes the defense and special defense stats of the user and its target, adds them together, and then divides them out equally. So Hisuian Avalugg has that base 184. With no investment, you hit 204 right there. And then what you could do is you could take advantage of Carbink's natural 170 or 171, depending on how you break down this, because I have full special defense investment into this Carbink to try to get the most points into Hisuian Avalugg. You could go for that 170 right there with the 204, and then divide that by 2. You're looking at 187 points right there in your regular defense. So you would lose just under 20 points into your physical defense, which wouldn't be the end of the world. And then you could take your 202 special defense points from Carbink, add them to Avalugg's measly 94. You hit your 296 before it's divvied out between the two of them, and then you hit 148. So that's a significantly big gain right there for Avalugg. It's gaining over 50 points into special defense. So you could do that to preserve your Avalugg. And then what I was thinking too is we can also go full lizard on this, and we can bring out Cyclizar, maybe go Shedtail to provide a substitute for Avalugg. You could do this with Orform as well. Orform might be better, whereas it does have the immunity to ground in Earth Eater, and it's a slower Shedtail at the cost of potentially having Orform take a little bit too much damage, though. You could go for your Shedtail, provide a substitute for Avalugg, and then Avalugg can safely get up maybe a Curse or Iron Defense behind that, and then go for Body Press. That's what I was thinking right there. That might be another way of helping Avalugg survive. You go with that Shedtail to provide that safe environment to boost up your defense, and then go for Body Press. Now, Terra Fighting might be interesting on Avalugg so that it gains stab off of Body Press as well. But if you're playing on a snow team, you'd probably want that Terra Ice still to gain the 50% defense boost from having snow active on the field. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know if you want to try out Hisuian Avalugg, or if you've tried out Hisuian Avalugg. Let me know what you've done before and how it works. And yeah, I would love to see this thing actually do something. I'd happily like to be wrong about it, but unfortunately, I just don't think it's going to be that great. Anyways, I will see you next time.